I always wanted to work with Lars. I remember I saw Isaac de Bancolé the night before he left. I know Isaac a little bit, and I went to a play he was in New York, and afterwards we went out and had dinner. And he said, somewhat proudly, he said, "Hey, I'm going to, go to Sweden to work on Lars von Trier movie." I said, "That's cool." He said, "It's a good part too." I said, "That's great, that's great." And I joked with him. I said, "When you get over there, tell Lars if he needs me, just call me up. I'll come right over." And about six weeks later, whatever, I just got a call, very direct, saying, "Look, they'd like to have you do this, little part in Manderlay." I liked a couple of the speeches that I had very much. And some of the writing is, very in your face and very kind of overwrought, and it's almost blocky sometimes. It's almost stiff in I don't know what the word is. It's polemic, or there's a lot of stuff right in your face, presented quite obviously and quite flatly. But that didn't bother me. I didn't think that was a bad thing. I thought it was kind of a good thing, because there's lots of ideas floating around in the material that's presented. And I think even though some of the writing, as I say, is very much in your face and seems very kind of flat and blocky and broad and obvious, it's more about what's, shadowing or lurking behind it. I'm attracted to these issues, and they are a part of my life. They are a part of American life. They're a part of the world. So yes, do I think they're important? Yes. Yes, do I think there's going to be a discussion? Yes. But for me, to say what the discussion is bullshit. I'm an actor in this thing. I'm a doer. I'm going to help. I'm a guy that's going to help Lars do this thing. He may know what he wants to express. I only know what my, the relationship I'm trying to make with the material as I'm doing it. And I claim no responsibility beyond that. Because I think when you do, you start to get careful, and you have a failure of the imagination. This is just the hook that gets us thinking about these things, and then in the story, it's going to suggest various things. Because, that's the beauty of being able to tell stories. You've got no obligation to the truth. You can only kind of poke this, bee's nest of questions, and then see what happens. See whether bees swarm at you, whether, you can come to peace with them. That's what it's about, I think. This doesn't remind me as any process, because it's very loose. You never quite know where the camera is. The camera's floating. Also, you have the understanding that he's very forgiving about playing around with dialogue and inventing stuff. You don't have to match, because the way he's shooting with a floating camera, basically he can cut from any shot. He's a funny guy. He's lots of fun, and he would say, he'd come in, he'd say, one scene in the back of this car, he'd say, Bryce, 20%, you 14%. And I said, "What?" He'd say, "Less acting." So you sort of know what that is, but not really. I come from the theater tradition of no acting, where, actors are called performers, and they don't show, or they don't necessarily even feel. They're task-oriented performers. I think it adds a dynamism. It puts it lets stuff float a little bit more. If you're in a dark room, and basically you're looking at two faces and they're talking to each other, what do you deal with? You deal with the faces, the sound, the energy of these people. That's where you work from. where if you're in this fabulous set, you know, and there are chairs to sit in and, you know, prop drinks to drink, and it's not worse or better, it's just your concentration. There's more things to look at and consider. I'm not normally a naturalistic actor, and I'm also most of the time I'm a theater actor. I act more in the theater than I do in movies generally. So to walk into a room without any furniture and say, we're in, you know, Grand Central Station, or we're in, you know, a living room, and make do with that, that's something I deal with all the time.